Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back, okay? Always locked in, I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
Welcome to Just Winning. We are back live once again from the Nicholson School of Media studio. We're about halfway through the NBA season now, and usually, by now the teams have really started to separate ourselves. We're just waiting to get to the playoffs. This year, it's a little different. The East, there's only 4.5 games separating the 4 seed from the 12 seed. We're going to get into all of this and more. First, let me introduce my guest, my good friend, the very handsome Ross Bernstein. Ross, how are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. This is the first time I've been in studio since all this nonsense in the world has happened. So I'm feeling good, right? We're getting close to the All-Star break. We're getting close to the trade deadline. Things are starting to heat up in the NBA. We're really starting to see how it's going to shape up. But like he said, East is super tight. West is super tight. We don't know what's going to happen, but can't wait to talk about it. My good friend John, it's been a while. We even played ball the other day. We're definitely not going to be in the NBA anytime soon based off those performances, but it's great to be here.
Hey, speak for yourself, man. I'm going to get there. I'm going to blow up.
Softest touch in the history of hitting the field.
Softest touch in the game. Anyway, so as we mentioned, the East, it's super tight right now. I don't think I've ever seen a more competitive NBA regular season. It seems like every week it feels like a different team is in, a different team is out. Ross, who do you see separating themselves most in the second half of this season?
Right, so I could go with the obvious pick as a Heat fan. They're on a 6-game winning streak, and they're hot. But I feel like the Knicks are being super underappreciated all season, right? Understandably. They're not supposed to be where they are at. They're not even the hottest team in their own city at this point. This is the first time probably in the history of New York that the Brooklyn Nets are the team to be. Understandably, they have 3 All-Stars. But, man, I really appreciate the team, right? I think the D-Rose pickup, highly underrated. I think he brings another great point guard. I think he brings a lot of experience. And I think Julius Randle, obviously playing at an all-star level, right? I'm really hoping the Knicks can make a push because as much as I like ragging on Knicks fans, I've done it my fair share of times, right? Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, I kind of hope they win, right? My grandfather's from New York. Do I think he even cared about the Knicks? No, he was a Yankees fan. Either way. I think they're going to have a great season, but we'll see. Hopefully they could end up top 5. I mean, if I have to be even a little more biased towards the Heat, I think a Heat versus Knicks matchup would be great because, everyone from New York is already in Miami. So if we have fans, that's going to be a great series to see. So the Knicks are one of the teams to look out for, but what a surprising season overall, right? Who would have thought? Anyone that's watched basketball for the past, 10, 15 years besides 1 or 2 good seasons, it's a bottom 3 team. But we still have a lot of basketball, and they are the Knicks. So don't be surprised if they trade their whole roster before the thing. James Dolan sells a team, hopefully, and they fumble. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. The Knicks, they are a super interesting team right now. They've really overachieved. I think my biggest concern with the Knicks is with all these young guys, a lot of them are sort of figuring out their roles. It seems like it's sort of a different guy every week. And, I think down the stretch when they're competing with teams that have more veterans like the Miami Heat or the Toronto Raptors, who a lot of those guys on the Raptors have, they've won a championship. They know what it takes. The Heat, they got there last year. So, same thing. They've got guys that know their roles. The Heat, they really just have suffered from their shooters haven't been hitting in the first half of the season. I think as that changes, they're going to keep climbing up the standings. I do think, as you mentioned, for the New York Knicks, the Derrick Rose addition has been huge because, you get a veteran leader in there who's played in the playoffs and can lead those guys and, hopefully keep them competitive down the stretch. Ross, the West is a little tight too. What teams do you see separating themselves in the second half of the season in the Western Conference?
Right. So in the West, we have the best team. We already know. We know the Lakers. We know the Clippers. Even the Jazz, surprising people. I am a huge Trailblazers fan, right? Simply because I am always a fan of people that don't leave their teams and stay with who they started with, right? Damian Lillard said it over and over again. I'm going to be a Trailblazer. I want to bring a championship to Portland. I'm saying this knowing that the best years of my basketball career is from LeBron going from Cleveland to Miami, but here nor there. They've been playing well without McCollum or Nurkic. Once they get them back, that's a dangerous team. Melo it should be an embarrassment to every GM in the league that they didn't want this man on their team. He was almost annexed from the entire league. He's balling. He's still a legend. He still has it. He still has the mid-range game, and I think he's adopted more of a three-point scoring part of his game because that's what you need nowadays. I really like the Trailblazers. I hope they have a push. It always seems like they're good. They get to a playoff team, then they meet a Lakers or the Clippers, and they just can't get past that. I really hope they get past at least that barrier and get to the conference finals because I think Dame deserves it. I think LeBron said it. He's one of the most disrespected players in the league amongst Devin Booker, of course, which that's another team, the Suns. The Suns are super surprising also. We have to bring another team that could separate themselves. Who would have thought? I think they're the 4th seed in the West. If I'm wrong about that, I'm sorry, but I know they're doing much better than expected.
Listen, the Suns are doing well. The Blazers are doing well. My biggest issue with the Blazers, let me start with them, is the fact that they've certainly done very well despite the injuries they've had. I don't want to undersell that. But when you get to the playoffs and they got to play a best-of-7 series against the Lakers or the Clippers, I don't think anybody thinks the Blazers are a team that have a chance in a series like that. I think they're a team where the games will be competitive, but their ceiling is winning 2 games in a best-7 against the Lakers. I don't think come playoff time anybody really takes them seriously.
Right, I agree with you. I just would like to see them. I think, listen, at the end of the day, we're saying all this. There's only really one question in the West. Can you beat LeBron and AD healthy in the Lakers? Do I think any team could truly do that? It's going to be a very difficult task.
Who would you say is the biggest threat to take down the Lakers in the West? Let's start in the West. Who's the biggest threat to them?
I still think it's the Clippers. I know the Jazz have the best record in the league, but at the end of the day, I don't think they have enough talent, just purely enough talent to where when playoff basketball starts, switches, it's all flipped. It's all different now, right? The competitive level goes from here to here. And at the end of the day, if you don't have that superstar player that can take over, right? Donovan Mitchell, amazing player. Rudy Gobert, amazing player. Mike Conley's playing out of his mind. He had a horrendous season last season, and now he was a fringe all-star, could have easily been debated, has the highest net rating in the league, right? He's been playing great. But at the end of the day, the Clippers still have the second most talented roster, just purely looking at the way they have. And they have Kawhi Leonard, who is the second best player in the West, right? Clippers still a threat. I really hope we get a LA versus LA matchup. Because that's, I think, everyone in the league wanted last year, right? We didn't, listen, Okelo, we love you, but we didn't want to see the Nuggets play.
Nobody wants to see the Nuggets. The Nuggets are boring.
The Nuggets are a very boring team, and at this point, I think they've plateaued. Like you said, they have a ceiling at this point. We thought, okay, they're going to get better every year. Once they had that disappointing loss 2 or 3 years ago in the playoff, they're going to get better. They're going to recover. When are they going to break through? We don't know. Can your best player be a big man? Can Nikola Jokic be your best player and you win a championship? These are questions we still don't know. But what I do know is your best player can be Kawhi Leonard and you do win a championship. So I think the Clippers are still the biggest threat. We deserve an LA versus LA championship at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly want to see LA versus LA. It's not the same conversation as it was last year, though. I think it's lost a lot of steam. This time last year, I was all on the Clippers bandwagon. I said the Clippers were going to be the NBA champions. But seeing the way Paul George played down the stretch in the playoffs and, Kawhi, we were talking about it earlier before the show. It's like, I don't know. You never know when he's going to show up and try. I mean, and it's like you think, okay, he'll turn it on in the playoffs, but he didn't. He certainly didn't do it last year in the bubble. I can't come out here and say he's going to do it this year if I haven't seen it. And same thing with Paul George. I can't see him perform. I can't say he's going to perform in the playoffs if I haven't seen him done it yet.
I agree 100%. If Kawhi gives them Toronto Kawhi playoffs, that's a different level. I think Kawhi was sick of Paul George last playoffs. I feel like they had a man-to-man conversation afterwards because Paul George needs to understand he's not the best player on that team. And he was playing and trying to do things as if he's the best player and he's out there by himself. You're not. You have an amazing team around you. But Paul George is having a better season. Will he be another playoff P and hit the side of the backboard on corner threes? I don't know. We don't know that yet. I'm just going off a purely talent perspective. And yeah, it's not as intriguing as last year because I think my pick was the Clippers last year from day one. I think their defense is great. And truthfully, they've only improved statistically in most things that they've done. The roster is very similar. I think Serge Ibaka was a great addition on top of that. But at the end of the day, I believe Kawhi Leonard will show up. I think feels a little disrespected, although we can never tell by his face, emotions, or anything. I think I'm just going to go with he feels disrespected, although his face stays the same no matter what. I think we get an LA versus LA matchup. But like I said, I would love Portland to maybe get to the finals. I still think if we had to make a prediction, the Lakers still go back to the championship because I think LeBron is going for 6.
Well, then let me stop you there.
Yeah.
Who do you think from the East has the best chance to take down the world champion LA Lakers?
I think it's Brooklyn. I think it has to be Brooklyn. It's the same question in the West of who's going to beat the Lakers. At this point, is who's going to beat Brooklyn? The one thing I'm worried about Brooklyn is, can I count on you to score 125 points in a playoff game, every playoff game to win?
Well, here's the thing. I think you can absolutely count on it.
You could count on it.
But the issue is, can they be healthy enough to do it? Because of all three of their guys, if Kyrie Irving, if James Harden, or Kevin Durant, if all three of them are on the floor, they can put up at least 125 points a game. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, but I never want to count on that. I understand they could, right? There's no debate in my mind.
Here's the thing. You kind of have to count on that because Joel Embiid, the Brooklyn Nets, they don't match up well with Joel Embiid.
Absolutely not.
So you can pretty much chalk him up to score 34 to 37 points in a best-7 series. My prediction, though, is that the Nets can put up enough points that it doesn't matter, and that's really the question right now.
I'm questioning that's – I don't like that that's their game plan. I'm not saying they can't do it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they average 120 points in a playoff game for the playoff series, right? I think they go for a big man. I really hope they get Drummond because that'll at least give a little nudge to Embiid, right? Obviously, Embiid and Drummond are on different levels, but makes it a little more challenging at this point. But we'll see. I think Brooklyn, listen, when you have three of the best players in the whole league on your team, I don't care about your bench. And at the end of the day, defense wins championship, but when you got 3 offensive players like that, it's going to be difficult. It's going to make LeBron's life hard. I think LeBron really wants to beat Durant again because I think he still has a salty taste in his mouth from the disrespect he had when he went to Golden State. Because, listen, you beat that team. You beat OKC to get your championship. And then this man joined the Golden State Warriors and dominated you for years and years. And, yes, you did get one, but he made it a lot harder. Believe me, if Durant never went to Golden State, the debate for LeBron as the GOAT probably changes a lot because he would have won maybe 2 or 3, and then that changes your legacy. So I think if he goes against Durant, I think every NBA fan hopes, right, we get a Durant versus LeBron matchup because those are the 2 best players in the league. Kawhi maybe, but Brooklyn's offensive talent, man, it's going to be hard for LeBron because LeBron's going to have to play defense, which he's an amazing defender, but that's a lot of effort. He's still 35, 36 years old, 34, I don't know. Older, 18th season.
He's getting up there, but he's still the best player in the NBA for his age. Ross, let me ask you this before we go to break. You know, last year we saw the Miami Heat. They're sort of a sleeper team in the East. Nobody this time last year was talking about the Miami Heat to go to the finals. Is there a team like that in the East where they're sort of under the radar right now, but they can make that run?
I don't want to say under the radar, but Milwaukee's on a – listen –
Milwaukee is a little under the radar right now. They're hot right now, but they're not the team. Everybody's talking about Sixers and Nets. Those are the first teams.
I'll go under the radar based on compared to where they've been in past seasons, right? Giannis needs to win a championship and be more successful in the playoffs, period. The excuses are over. You've been in the league long enough. You've had your chances. They're on a 5-game winning streak. Chris Middleton's playing well again. And listen, if Giannis needs to get to a championship, at least to the finals. Maybe not win it to – his legacy's starting to get in question. Can he do it in the playoffs? I wouldn't be surprised if Milwaukee's able to knock off the 76ers. I still got Brooklyn, right?
Here's the issue, Ross. What is going to be different with the Milwaukee Bucks this year compared to the other years where they've disappointed in the playoffs?
I don't know what will be different, but what needs to be different is I think Giannis almost needs to delegate a little bit more. I think he tries to do too much, and at the end of the day, when you can't shoot, granted, he's a 6'11" point guard. He could take 2 steps from the half-court line.
Teams are leaving him open.
But they're leaving him open. When you've shrunk the court to where you know at this point, hey, we can move everybody back into the paint and clog the paint and hope we just stop him or foul him, it's great in the regular season because you're trying to work out schemes. But once it comes to the playoffs and defenses tighten up and people figure out the strategies and do all that stuff, you're a huge liability. I think what Giannis needs to do is shoot maybe 33, 35% from 3, which is not a great percentage, but at least take the shot. If I know you're not going to take the shot, that makes my life so much easier.
Then they're even more not going to guard him. Listen, Ross, I can't wait to see what happens come playoff time. I don't think I've seen a season where the championship is more up for grabs and there's this many teams in the mix. So I can't wait to see it. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this segment. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll bring you the Beast, Bust, and Best of the Week.
I'm in charge of the meeting this week. So you know what we're going to talk about? Basketball. The second thing we're going to talk about this week is basketball. Okay? And the third and last thing we're going to talk about is basketball.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. I want to quit. Can I quit? Take that.
Look at the screen. What are we talking about this week?
Basketball.
Welcome back. You know what time it is. This is the segment where we bring you our beast, bust, and best of the week. Ross, let's get right into it. Who is your beast of the week?
My beast of the week is it's a strange pick. I'm going with Dennis Smith Jr. for his dunk against the Kings. Now, he might not have a phenomenal week, but for some reason, anytime I see Dennis Smith Jr., I just get so annoyed by the wasted potential in this man's athletic ability. So when I see him fly from near the free throw line and yamming on two people, I get really excited. But I don't know if you feel this way, John, but he's like the guy you see at like the LA Fitness that like jumps 48 inches in the air but doesn't hit his jump shots and begs to be selected first. So I have a weird thing about Dennis Smith Jr., but that dunk was insane. Listen, one of the most wasted potentials in the league right now. I feel like people thought he was going to be the next big thing when he was on the Mavericks, and then he got traded to the Knicks in that Porzingis trade that seems worked out for no one. But I'll give him a little shine today. He's the beast of the week. Amazing dunk. 2 thumbs up for you, Dennis. You did a great job this week.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up for Dennis, man. That's such a interesting beast of the week because it was a little under the radar because, nobody's watching Detroit Pistons, Sacramento Kings game. So it was a really interesting one. I agree. A lot of wasted potential there just because, he hasn't been in one place long enough to really develop his game. So, interesting beast of the week. My beast of the week, a little more of a mainstream one. I'm going Luka Doncic. This time last week, everybody was talking about how Dame should have been the all-star starter over Luka. But, Luka's proved everybody wrong. He's on an absolute tear right now. He's getting the Mavericks hot. And, I think in the past week, the best Luka moment was they were against Boston at a tight game, and he hits back-to-back step-back threes to win the game, which is, everything you want in a beast of the week. So Luka Doncic is my beast of the week.
Yeah, no, Luka's amazing. He's leading his team in points, assists, and rebounds. Kristaps Porzingis needs to stay healthy and give this man some help because he's out there fighting for his life. Although I thought he was a little complaining at the beginning of the season with the calls. He's a superstar. You're not LeBron yet, young fella, all right? You got to relax a little bit on the flopping and complaining. He was complaining a lot, which I never like in players unless you're LeBron because you deserve it at that point. But, man, that kid could ball. I still can't believe he was a 5th pick in that draft. I think anyone that watches basketball in that pre-draft show could see you're playing. Listen, we could have this argument another time, but European basketball at that high level is significantly more competitive than NCAA Division I basketball. I don't care what anyone says. These are grown men.
Look at LaMelo. Look at Luka. Yeah. Those are guys coming in making an impact way faster than the guys who are coming from the traditional NCAA route.
These are grown men that you're playing against. Yeah. Yes, there might not be names everyone knows, but they've been playing in that league for a long time. And listen, Luka's everything I expected. He was my favorite pick that year. He's done nothing. I'm sure Mark Cuban every day wakes up and thanks whoever made that decision because you go from Dirk to Luka, didn't miss a beat. So Luka Doncic, a great pick for Beast of the Week. Hopefully gets some more help for the rest of the season and they make a good run because they're one of the more exciting teams. He's one of the more exciting players, but they're one of the more exciting teams when everyone's hot.
Absolutely. And I'll admit it, Ross. I hate to admit it on air, but I actually called Luka to be a bust in that draft just because I thought he was going to be too slow for the NBA game, but he's absolutely proved me wrong. He has a really impressive game. So Luka Doncic is my Beast of the Week. Speaking of busts, Ross, who's your bust of the week?
I think the bust of the week has to be the Boston Celtics. That team knows how to blow a lead. I'm not a football guy. I'm sure you know this answer, John. What's that team that it was the Chargers, right? Was I wrong? They kept blowing leads.
That's the Chargers.
That's the Chargers.
The Chargers, their average point differential for games is three points, but they just find ways to lose games, and that's the Celtics right now. The Celtics are also my bust of the week. I just don't think there's another answer for bust of the week right now. It's like I get so excited when the Celtics are on TV because I just turn on and I just sit there and laugh Like, how are they going to blow it this week? It literally feels like I'm watching a comedy TV show. It's that ridiculous right now.
Yeah, it's another one of the teams that we're waiting for to take the next step, right? Every year, it's like Brad Stevens is one of the best coaches in the league, a genius-minded coach. They have all these young players. They haven't done anything, right? I am sick of people comparing, as a Heat fan, I am sick of people comparing Brad Stevens to Eric Spoelstra. They're not on the same stratosphere. What has Brad Stevens done?
What is Brad? I mean, listen.
He's not done anything.
He consistently underachieves in the postseason.
Oh, that's great. That's what makes one of the best coaches in the league, consistently underachieving. I forgot that's what people make these metrics off. Yeah. Listen, I think it's because he wears a nice suit and he looks like he's 19 years old.
Smart.
He looks smart. I would trust him with like my accounting, my finance, and anything I do. Like, I'm a finance major. I would trust him doing my class. Like, that kid.
Well, and
I
think that's why he's thought of so highly, because you look at this guy. He looks like an accountant who's just out of college, and it's like, oh, this guy can really coach basketball.
Guy knows basketball.
But ultimately, he's not up in that. He's not in that highest tier where you've got Spoelstra and you've got Popovich.
Yeah, even Quinn Snyder. Like, there's so many coaches.
Yeah,
that have won.
I think there's a tier right below those guys, and it's Nick Nurse and Brad Stevens.
I agree. That's where he should be. Do I think he's a bad coach? No, right? I'm just a little frustrated. People, you have to win. At the end of the day, you're coaching. It's not like it's a bad team, right? If he had, let's say, the roster of the Knicks for the past 8 years, and he's stayed for this, and he's had okay season, that's different. You've had teams that are supposed to be succeeding. You had one great playoff run without Kyrie that people were super surprised about, and people said, this guy's going to be next. This team's going to be next. They did all this without Kyrie. They don't need Kyrie.
Yep.
And now look at them. They're an okay team. I think they're around 500. They keep blowing leads. They lost a 4-point lead in the last 8 seconds of a game. We have to be realistic at some point. Do I think they should fire Brad Stevens and get a new coach? No, that's not what I'm saying. But let's be honest with ourselves. He's not a winner in the playoffs, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, let's definitely pump the brakes on the Brad Stevens being in the top tier talk. But at the same time, it's a make or miss league. A lot of these games, they're just a couple misses and makes away from a win. If Luka misses those back-to-back ridiculous step backs, Boston Celtics win that game, we might be having a different conversation right now. But right now, that's not the case. Maybe in the playoffs they'll get it done. We'll see. They did just announce that Jaylen Brown is on the trade block, so we'll see what happens with that. Yeah. Danny Ainge did come out and say 2 weeks ago that they currently don't have a roster right now to win the NBA.
They better make a move after saying that. If you're a GM and you say that and then you just don't make a move, basically saying, yeah, we're not going to win. Like, how can you say that? Also, quick question, John, because I just want your opinion. Better step back, Luka or James Harden?
Ooh, that's the question
a hard
right
one.
now.
I was just thinking about it.
I can't even.
You don't have to give me an answer. It's okay.
I'm gonna say James Harden, but I don't. Dude, I like Luka. I would love to have either of their step backs on the basketball court. So.
Yeah, I could have half of the step back. I think I'd have enough space. But either way, just wondering.
Definitely. Anyway, enough with that negativity. Ross, who's your best of the week?
Gotta get the Birdman hand rub ready for this one. I think you know where this is going.
Hit me with it.
6-game winning streak. Jimmy G buckets. The G stands for gets. Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. The Miami Heat are back, baby. The disrespect I've had to hear all season. Listen, man, Jimmy Butler has played half of the games this season. Bam Adebayo was a fringe all-star, should have been one, except we were losing. Understand the pick. Either way. And we're back, baby. We're knocking down our shots. We're playing at the level that we were supposed to be playing at this whole season. And if Jimmy Butler could stay healthy, and if Bam Adebayo could stay healthy, and we keep knocking down the shots like we're supposed to be, don't be surprised if you see us back in the finals again. Prediction, that probably won't happen. I'm going with the Miami Heat.
Whoa. Don't hate on your own team. They got a
6-game winning streak.
Here's the thing about the Heat, okay? They're the ultimate live by the three, die by the three team. At the beginning of the year, their shooters were cold, and it looked like they were dying by the three. Mm-hmm. But now they're hitting, they're alive and well, and they can make a serious run. When they're hitting, they can legitimately beat anybody in the league.
Oh, 100%. And in Pat Riley we trust, right? Trade deadline's 28 games away. I think Pat Riley's going to say, hey, listen, if we were trash, I think Pat Riley might have just been, hey, let's sit down this trade season. Now we got 6-game winning streak. We're looking like the team we're supposed to be. Don't be surprised if we make a move for an Oladipo or even a Kyle Lowry.
Maybe they win the Jaylen Brown sweepstakes.
Maybe they win the Jaylen Brown sweepstakes. Who do we give up and we pay so much money in roster space? That's not my job to figure out. I didn't get the GM position. So if we can figure that out in Pat Riley, we trust. But, hey, man, the Heat are back. I'm glad we're at least near 500. We're back in the playoffs, and I don't need to hear Cliff tell me about how bad we are anymore. That's mostly what I'm excited.
That's a big win. That's a big win.
Yeah.
My best of the week, I'm going with another team from the East who's started out cold but is very hot right now. I'm going with the Washington Wizards. You know, Bradley Beal, he leads the league in scoring. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. And then you've got Russell Westbrook, you know, one of the ultimate competitors in the NBA. Maybe the best competitor because, you know, with Westbrook, he's a guy who he leaves it all on the floor literally every single game, every single night. And that's so rare in today's NBA. So the Washington Wizards, they've earned it. They are my best of the week.
Yeah, listen, Bradley Beal, they've won 11 straight when that man scores 40, right? Listen, he was one of the I thought he was going to be traded. I'm not going to lie at this point in the season from where the beginning. He said he didn't want to. I didn't believe him. That poor guy, man. He seemed like he was fighting for his life for the first half of the season, the first quarter of the season, whatever. Finally getting some help. Russell Westbrook, the most inefficient player, but God, man, that guy is good. He is good but inefficient. he works hard.
That sums up Russell Westbrook, but his competitive edge honestly makes up for it.
Oh, 100%.
That's why he's had the number of All-Stars he has. That's why
he's still an
won the
amazing
number
player.
of games he has.
He's still an amazing player, but I just like that Bradley Beal's getting some help, right? He's playing out of his mind. He's been playing out of his mind. It just seemed like it was going to go all that to get a lottery pick. I hope they make the playoffs. I always love watching Russell play, right? I know he's going to brick most of his shots. I know he's going to pull up from 3 on a fast break that he doesn't need to half the time or a mid-range. But I don't care because he's fun to watch. He runs fast. He tries hard. And I think good for Bradley Beal that he's getting a little bit of help out there. Do I think they're a contender? No, but, hey, man, who cares?
At least they're doing I agree. I don't think they're a contender, but they're a team that I really, really want to see in the playoffs because, you know, playoff Westbrook is must-see TV.
100%.
So I certainly hope they make the playoffs this year.
I agree. Yeah, I think Russell needs to get back there. Seems like he's been ridden off a little bit. He just gets triple-doubles and it doesn't matter anymore. At first he was an Oscar Robertson comparison, and now he's a whatever inefficient. Like, I mean, I'm even saying it. But at least they're doing a little bit better. Like I said, no, not a contender. But if they could take the first series to a six-game series in the first round,
I think the Wizards, they can take anybody to a 6-game series. And they can beat anybody at best 7 series, but eventually they're just going to hit that wall, whether it's the Brooklyn Nets, whether it's the Philadelphia 76ers, whether it's your own Miami Heat. Yeah. We don't know yet. I just hope we get that chance to see them in the playoffs and see what they can do. Ross, thank you so much for joining me. That's all the time we have for today. If you guys like this episode, hit the like and subscribe. Next week, we're going to have Taylor Anderson coming on, and we're going to, get out of the NBA for a minute and talk a little NFL draft and break that all down for you. So you're definitely not going to want to miss that episode. Thank you guys so much.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the